They're off in the Breeders' Cup.
All right, we are 2 weeks out to the 40th Breeders' Cup World Championships. Again, pre-entries will be out next week. Of course, we'll get the entries the following week. So now we're going to take a look at futures odds available here on Bovada. Just go to bovada.lv and you can search this up and find the current prices as we go along. But we have 13 of the 14 races available on here. We're only missing the filly and mare sprint, but we're going to go through here, Halterman, and some of these fields are bigger than others, but we can get an idea not only who's going to, at least who they have available to bet, but what the odds look like for each of these races. And just, more than anything, I think it can give you a little bit of an indication. Obviously, you can bet these much more freely overseas as well, so it kind of gives you an idea maybe how those are being bet. It maybe gives us an idea, an early look of how you might want to bet, or maybe horses that you guys have been itching to bet again. And if you're seeing a horse at, say 1,200 over here plus 1,200, you're like, oh shit, like that's great. Hopefully I get anywhere near that in the Breeders' Cup. So Saturday, Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, Caravel. That's the big one, right? 8-1. No Balls at 8-1 as well. Notorious at 10-1. Those are three really interesting horses, obviously for good reason. But Private Creed 16 to 1. It's really there's a lot obviously of options here, and this for at least on listed here. Living the Dream at 550. Brad Sell at 600. Thoughts as you kind of look at these?
I got no idea in this one. I mean, this is going to be a horribly tough race. Caravel, I don't think is going to be able to do it again. I don't think she ran all that well at Keeneland. You kind of lean, maybe go a local here. Track's a little bit quirky for sure. You do kind of think, hey, maybe a horse like Gear Jockey can get the job done. I've always kind of liked the Platinum Queen. I think that's a horse that's going to come in here with a chance. I remember the last time we ran this race here at Santa Anita, it seems like a huge price won it. I can't even remember who. It's not Peter Miller won it with somebody. So I don't have much of a thought on this one. This is going to be one you need to stay away from, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I kind of like, I don't know. The one I've been most interested in as I started going through it was which might not surprise you a little bit, but No Balls at 8-1. I think just the speed, man. That race, I mean, that he kind of showed that, and Caravel's super fast, but he shut Caravel out even as far as speed, and it kind of makes you, if this horse can, at Santa Anita on the turf at Santa Anita get going, like it might be a hard horse to catch, right? So, but yeah, I honestly, I don't know the exact field yet, but it's gonna be hard to be surprised out of this one.
Yeah,
as far as the result goes. So, all right, this one, okay, the Dirt Mile. This is a race that I'm super, super interested in.
Yeah,
the Dirt Mile is always a fun race. I feel like every year, but this year no different. Cody's Wish looking to defend after the debacle and the Whitney, and deciding to go back to the mile distance where the horse has not lost. Practical Move though at 4-1 plus 175 by the way on Cody's Wish. Algiers is at 8-1. Good Nights 9-1. Blazing Sevens. I mean the list goes on. Fort Bragg at 12-1. Defunded 14-1. Arabian Lion 16-1. Verifying 16-1. Charge at 35-1. I don't think Charge is going to run in that race, but thoughts on this one?
I'm going to try to beat Cody's Wish. I mean, that's just it. I'm going to try to beat him. Practical Move would make a lot of sense in this race. I think Defunded would be interesting if he actually goes in this race. You don't really know who's running, right? Anarchist is a horse I kind of like a little bit as well. I'm going against Cody's Wish. It's going to be with one of those that I kind of list in there most likely.
Now, listen, a lot can change, and you got the field has to take shape, and I'll make some decisions obviously when we get closer. But I said this, I tweeted it out right after the race when he made his comeback. I'm gonna have a really hard time not picking Practical Move to win here. I just, well, he's done nothing wrong really, and he loves Santa Anita. And he looked good. And I think the way the race is going to set up for him, I think it's going to be he's going to be tough to beat. I think Cody's Wish is going to have his work cut out for him to get to that's why I really wanted to see I guess Saudi Crown just because I wanted to beat Cody's Wish, but maybe Practical Move is my next best, right?
Mm-hmm. I can see it. I really think Practical Move. If he can build off that last race, and I mean, you kind of look at his form before he got hurt or got sick or whatever the hell happened to him. You look at that. You look how he came back and just how damn easy and just kind of toyed with him. You do kind of just sit here and go, you know what? He probably is better than what Cody's Wish has been his last couple of races. Not early in the season, but his last couple, it's like he's probably just better. So if you could get him at a price now, he may run in the Classic, and we're all just like, well, whatever if that happens. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like Cody's Wish is a horse to really like single or anything like that.
You gonna bet your boy Arabian Lion at 16-1?
No, I don't know what Arabian Lion is up to these days, but it's not running well.
Not running is one of them.
I tell you what, Fort Bragg. I see Fort Bragg getting mentioned a few times. I think he's interesting. I thought he ran pretty well in the last time we saw him in the sprint, San Diego sprint. So Arabian Lion did not.
I'll say this though, like there was a time this year where I'm like, Arabian Lion might be the best Arabian horse of Baffert,
Oh, for sure. But I mean, fuck, you don't know what he's going to do. He's either awful or good. No in between. Yeah.
So I could certainly see him winning this race. Like, don't get me wrong. I probably can't bet him in this race.
No.
Cause he's been like some really like wow performances from him. And then there's been some not so wow. Filly and Mare Turf. This is a good one, man. Look at this. Inspiral at plus 200, 2-1, 325 on Warm Heart, Tahara at 8-1, Didia at 11-1, and Anisette at 12-1. I mean, those in Italian. How about that? In Italian at 14-1, Moira at 14-1. But listen, to me, it comes down to a few in here, and that is Inspiral or Warm Heart. Two international horses, I think, that are going to be really tough to beat which if they do run in this race.
I think Warm Heart is super, super good. And I also think Inspiral is super good. I don't know where Inspiral is going to go. I've heard the mile as well, so I don't really know. But and I don't really care to speculate. But listen, you hate to be a broken record, but Warm Heart and Inspiral, those two horses are probably better than anything we have. You look at it in Italian, she's going to be a great price, but it's like she probably should be. She lost twice where she shouldn't have. Didia is a horse I like. I thought she ran really well last time out, but I just think, again, you look at the Americans, and if we get these big-time European horses, which those two on the top there are, I don't really think we're going to be able to beat them.
This is a very, very tough trend to buck in terms of favoring the internationals. So I don't. And then you got two. We talk about it where like with the turf, where it's like, well, you just don't have that like big time turf horse, right? Coming like you'd love to bet against up to the mark, but you're just like, I don't know who it is, right? Who you can trust that because you've seen some of the big. I mean, we've seen some big time turf horses come over here and win. This one feels like. Whether it be Inspiral, whether it be Warm Heart, who you like in this race, but those two both feel like really nice horses overseas.
I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with the love for Inspiral and for Warm Heart in the chat. I'm with you. This is a situation this year, guys, and we talked about it. When a horse like an Able came over, that was like nuts, crazy. But this year, it's like any European horse that's decent to good, we're going to get more excited about them because we just don't have the star power in this country this year. So, I mean, a horse like Inspiral or Warm Heart if they came last year with Flightline still to come, it's like, we're excited about it, but we're still looking to Flightline. Where this year, seeing a horse like this or horses like this, that's going to highlight the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping obviously I'll have some, I'll have to lean one way or another, but I'm hoping I can just survive this race with these two because I don't want to get too worked up about this race because I do, as far as like I don't want to overthink it because I just feel like these two are the ones, to like here. And I love it. Like you're seeing some very strong conviction in the chat one way or another.
It's great.
That's what it's about. And hopefully we see, that's the thing too. Hopefully you see a battle between these two, and we see a nice race from both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so too. And I think, I think Kevin kind of said it, is like, there just doesn't feel like there's any buzz. There's a lot of tickets available for this thing. And I think people that watch our show, and I mean, if you're watching a show about horse racing on YouTube, you're really into it. So I think people watching are really into it. And look what sparked it. It's like finally the filly and mare turf, but it's like these are stars, and that's what you're supposed to see at the Breeders' Cup. And I feel like this isn't a Breeders' Cup that's getting a ton of hype because we don't have the flight line. We don't have the star, but these European horses coming over can give us that. And people watching our show know these horses and have seen them and have been like, wow, I can't wait to actually see this horse in our country, so that does kind of make it exciting for the people that know about racing.
Oh yeah. And the fact that like you got a John Gosden horse and an Aidan O'Brien horse that, two legends, right, that have these pretty damn good fillies, bringing them over. I mean, there's not much to me. That's one of the biggest, one of my favorite moments of any Breeders' Cup we've ever been to is being in the paddock with Enable and the connections and just feeling that buzz of a legit world-class horse. And these two are certainly up on that list of at least what we have running right now overseas. So exciting to see them come over, and hopefully we can see a nice little battle between the two. All right, let's go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Obviously, Echo Zulu is not going to be on here, but plus 600 there. Plus 150 for Elite Power to repeat and win the sprint. Good night at 700, 7-1 on Arcus, 8-1. Speedboat Beach, 8-1. Speedboat Beach is interesting. Obviously looked really good, even though he lost, but it was off a super long layoff. Then you got like the Dr. Shivel, who's kind of the local horse. Spirit of McKenna, who's just had a lot of tough luck. Can I book CZ Rocket in third? Can I book CZ Rocket for like plus 3,000 for third?
You could, yeah. I'm not going to take it, but Bill Bottom might. I kind of feel like Elite Power is going to get beat.
Why? I just don't know who's going to beat him.
I think Speedboat Beach can beat him.
Now, yeah. I mean, I do think logically could. It's just one of those weird races that we don't see speed hold. And I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. But like you look at I always go back to Chancelot or Jackie's Warrior, or when Jackie was primed up. I don't know, but I'm with you. Like Speedboat Beach, that last race, I thought, even though he lost, I thought he was very impressive, and I immediately was like, "Oh, he's gonna be a problem at the Breeders' Cup, one way or another. Whether it be a problem because I don't know how to bet him, or a problem that he's gonna win the thing." So.
I think Gunite is one that's going to be tough. I think Speedboat Beach is going to be tough. Anarchist, if he's in this race, I like him. I like Dr. Shivel. Like I don't know. You watch that race from Elite Power, and we can all sit back and say, well, Gunite, my God, he had it all his way, and this and that. Gunite had it all his way the last time before that when they faced, and Elite Power beat him, right? And even if you go to the Saratoga, okay, now you got an extra furlong. In that race, it maybe, Elite Power gets second, but he's beaten a half length and he makes a huge move. And you go, okay, you just look at that race and it's like, you know what? He might be tailing off a bit because he didn't make not any point in the stretch did you think Elite Power even had a chance to win. Yeah. And that's not something you could say about him in a long, long time. So I don't know. And now no races since, I just kind of feel like he may not be at his peak.
And a horse that, rattled off a bunch of wins in a row, and, it really, can he kind of get back to that winner's circle after losing it? I'm not saying you're wrong. If I don't know, I'm with if that trend wasn't so heavily in my mind, I would probably pick Speedboat Beach. My hope is that maybe he doesn't go to the lead, but I think he will.
To that point, because Rodney brings it up. He just hopes Victor doesn't get the mount because that pissed him off. I text you. I was at an OU game when they ran this race.
Yep.
And I text you. And I think Shoddy. I may have texted you this. I can't remember. It's been a while. Been a minute. But I said that's one of the worst rides you'll ever see from anyone ever on Speedboat Beach. Last time out, I said it. And the reason why I was so emphatic about it because it's not a ride where you go, well, he got him stopped or he did this or he did that. But it was worse than that because you had the horse with the most speed in the race. You got out of the gate well. You were in the perfect spot to just go take control of the race and take him gate to wire. And he held the horse with the most speed back.
Yeah. Didn't let him run.
He waited and he waited and he waited too long and the horse still almost won the race. And it's like there's not many times I'll watch a race and blame the entire thing on the jockey. That was one of those times, though.
Yeah, I had him bet to win, too, which made it even worse because you're just like, what are you doing, you know?
I don't know.
And Victor, the anchor, you know, kind of that. But, yeah, he will not be on them. You can guarantee he will not be on the mount.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough to watch that. But even afterwards, I text you the same thing. I was like, I mean, yeah, he lost, but damn, that was impressive. Like,
yeah,
you know, all things considered, off that. I mean, it was like 10-month layoff. You know, it was a legit layoff, and to run that good. So, yeah, I think he'll be tough. I just again I'm with where is it at? I saw the comment. I don't know where it went though. Michael said, yeah, like I think he's gonna wire him or he's going to or Elite Power will catch him, you know?
Yeah, and I guess final thought on this one, it is going to depend on who actually enters, where they're at, you know, who's riding who. Like I said, Victor's on him again or something like that, or it's like, well, never mind. They just don't think that much of him, obviously. You know, where they get a good jockey, blah, 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 then it changes. So it'll just have to depend on who's here as well. But look, I mean, I like I said at the beginning, 2 weeks from now, this thing could totally be different for me, who I'm picking. But as of now, like I'm looking on this on the surface and going, I don't think he's quite as good as he was at his peak, talking about Elite Power. And that's a situation where I think you can go beat him. And you think about it, Jackie's Warrior last year, who Elite Power beat. He came into the race. It's like, yeah, he's just better than everybody else, but he wasn't on his peak form. And you saw it when he got beat in the Forego, right? Elite Power got beat in the Forego. He might just not be on his top level.
All right, let's go to the Breeders' Cup Mile here. You got Paddington at plus 225, Songline 500. Tyra is also in here at 500, up to the mark at 500, but I think up to the mark's going to run in the turf. Master of the Seas. Have you heard anything where Master of the Seas is going to run? 700 on him here. Yeah. I mean, do you think he's probably going to run in this race, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, after getting beat by Master of the Seas,
yeah, you
got to think Mile is, if you're trying to avoid him, right, as well. Mm-hmm. And Maj, I mean, I imagine Maj in here 10-1. Maj, I think Maj is very interesting at 10-1. Anyways, Italian's going to run in the Philly Mare, right?
I think so. Yep.
That's to say, there's a lot of these kind of up in the air. You're not quite sure. Thoughts on, I guess, Songline. The Songline coming over is pretty cool.
I think it'd be cool. I think that horse will be tough just sitting here looking at it as it is right now, not knowing exactly who's going to be in or what. But yeah, I think Songline is a horse to be tough. I think Master of the Seas still is in here with a chance. Casa Creed, I think, is very interesting for one of ours. Up to the mark, if he runs here, you got to kind of like his chances as well. A horse like Kinross at 8-1, Maj at 10-1. I mean, I think you got to go pretty deep in here. I don't think, and again, this is just on the surface. This looks pretty damn tough to me.
I mean, I don't know a lot about Paddington, to be honest with you. That's one that I just don't know a ton about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to get a good feel for it without, diving in. Casa Creed, I'd love to see Casa Creed win at 8-1. Mm-hmm.
I think Dennis asked which is the best U.S. horse in the Breeders' Cup Mile. In your thoughts, if Up to the Mark doesn't run in it, I think Casa Creed is.
I did see that song. I think, what is it? The Magic Sinus. It was like the horses that are the possible Japan contingent is like Ushpa Cicero, Dermis Utagaki, I don't know the turf, Shahar, Win Marlin, Songline, Win Carnelian, Jasper Crone, and there's like a handful of them in there. But I mean, you get Songline over, you get Ushpa. I mean, Ushpa Cicero, Derma. I don't know about Derma. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I mean, I feel like Japan, I've been saying it all along. It just feels like we're going to see a couple races that Japan's going to win out of the 14.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a good shot in a few for sure. And it'd be dumb to kind of ignore them because they win everywhere. So why wouldn't they be able to win here as well? Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see who actually shows up once it's here, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah. Do you think Inspiral will run over here in this race, if not the other one? I mean, is there any way that, if Warm Heart is for sure running there, is there any chance that we say, hey, we're gonna go the other direction?
I thought so. I thought we'd see Inspiral in this race here.
It might happen.
Yeah, and that if she's in this one, I like her a lot.
I mean, that would make everyone's our lives easier, right? If you like both of them,
separate them,
yeah, so I don't have to play them both.
Yep.
Yeah, Paddington's not coming over. Yeah, like running the QE2 this weekend, but yeah. Let's move on to the Distaff. Idiomatic. Yep. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is a race, and just like the Distaff as well, really. I mean, the Classic as well. It's a race that you typically see Class win, and this has been a division this year that Class has been pretty sketchy. Idiomatic is the now Class, right, at plus 250, but Nest is. I mean, I don't. You can bet Nest. I don't know. Nest's not running that. No. Adair Manor at plus 500. Randomized at plus 800. Pretty mischievous at 10-1. Clariere at 12-1. Search results. Wet Paint 14-1. I mean, the list goes on, right? We've been hearing about these horses all year. To me, at 12-1, Clariere is very interesting. And I'm not like, again, I've cashed on her. I've been burnt by her, but from a class standpoint, she's right up there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be between. I'm not playing Idiomatic as a favorite. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll put her on like a pick 4, pick 5 ticket. I'm not going to play her to win, I guess I should say. I think Randomize is really interesting. I think that horse is very interesting at a price. I think Adari Manor she's got the home field advantage. She could be a little bit interesting in this spot as well, but I'm going to try to beat Idiomatic. Randomize makes a little sense to me as of now.
Yeah. I don't know. Idiomatic, man, that's just one of those that I kind of feel like, I picked her thankfully last time, but it's like, can she win this race? I mean, sure, I guess, right? I mean, Adair Manor is one like that I would feel pretty stupid getting beat by, but at the same time, I don't. It's like, again, like I said, like Class wins this race, like nine times out of 10. I mean, yeah, you had that what was that Japanese horse a few years ago, Marche Lorraine or whatever. I mean, that happens, right? That can happen, but it feels like it's going to be one of those like 5 or 6 horses that we've mentioned, but it's been this way all year. There's been times where Clariere was easily the Class. Nest, the Class. Adair Manor, I mean, it always has that West Coast vibe, right? Idiomatic is the Class now. Randomized for like half a second, you felt like might be, you know what I mean? It's just been all year long. So I don't know how you can, like, you just got to kind of pull the trigger with one and hope you get lucky here.
Well, I would argue that Randomize is just as classy as Idiomatic after the 2 straight wins she's had. So I think the Class angle does work with Randomized, where like nest. Come on. I mean, even Clairiere, like it's been, I don't know. Your kids probably weren't in school yet when Clairiere last won a race.
The thing about Clairiere is that's so frustrating is she has the class to win this race.
Yeah.
No doubt, right? Her winning this race would be zero shock. But could she also finish like third or fourth, beating 5 or 6? Sure. No doubt. All of them could in this race. Idiomatic would be the one. To me, the Idiomatic, even I hate taking that prize, but I mean, as of lately, she's been the one you can count on the most.
Yeah, and maybe like I said, you get the entries in your hands. You're like, well, shit, she's just better, and you play her, But I, sitting here right now, I don't really want her as a favorite.
Pretty mischievous winning this race would be freaking hilarious, in my opinion. I just after the year, and she's going, to one turn, and then she won the Oaks, and
yeah.
It's like then fast forward to the Distaff, she wins the Distaff, and you like she won at 10-1. I didn't use her. The Oaks winner. It's like, come on.
Yep.
Again, I'm not gonna be too shocked really of the result of this race.
No, not at all. Let's go to the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Yeah, the Turf. Again, we 9-1 up to the mark, which is wild, and I guess the reason is you got 4 other horses. International horses that are listed ahead of them. 3-1, August Rodin, Musta D. I don't know how to, but I know that I've been researching that horse, and I know that horse. I don't know if that horse is coming, but I'm actually very interested in that horse if he does. Emily something 7-1, Anesto at 7-1, Bolshoi by LA at 12-1, Warlike Goddess at 12-1. Listen. To me, up to the mark. If this is, let's just fast forward to the post time, and let's just pretend it's not going to happen. But let's pretend that this is the odds right before they get into the gate. I'm not betting up to the mark at 9-1. Like he's one of those weird situations where I feel like I want to see him bet in order for me to feel confident in betting him. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
I mean, up to the mark for me is the play, unless these European horses just look tremendous. Just to be real honest, is like I can't really get past him. He's beaten a lot of these European horses. Now that August Rodin or however that one looks pretty good to me, and I think that would be the one I would maybe like the most out of the European horses. But look, up to the mark's beaten a lot of really good ones. So if he's in it, I'm sure we won't get a report that he's doing well. But if he's in the race, he doesn't scratch. Yeah. I think he'll run okay.
I mean, it is one of those races that far and away is an international race. It just is. But you have had instances where you have Americans that win, and of course, like Bricks and Mortar is one, and like kind of the probably the biggest one as far as American as of recently. And it's obviously he was just better, and maybe up to the mark is that horse, right? Especially since you don't have Tarnaw or an Able or Found or whoever you want to list off. You don't have like those kind of international horses coming over for this race, so. That's kind of where I'm at, right? Like if you don't have those and up to the mark has done what he's done, is doing what he's doing, it's hard not to pick him.
Yep. I agree. This one's all going to be about the internationals and who actually show up and, who do they get to ride them and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, as far as the American horse goes, you got to think up to the mark's got a big shot because he's been beating these international horses. So this is going to be another major challenge. These horses won't be easy to beat.
I really do think, though, it's going to be between if it is this Augustine Rodin, if that's the kind of the international horse, right? That's the one I'm going to focus on versus up to the mark, because I do think it's going to be kind of that's the way I'm going to at least approach it. So, all right, let's go to the Classic. Obviously, the kind of a big race here. The the big classic, the main event, which sounds really technically the main event. You got two races after it at the Breeders' Cup on Saturday, but officially it is the main event of the Breeders' Cup. Arcangelo is your favorite here at plus 350, Arabian Night at 600. Go Rocket Ride, 650. White Barrio, 7-1. Ushba Tesoro. I mean, I've heard that horse's name more and more as we've gotten closer at 8-1. Bright Future, 10-1. Saudi Crown is confirmed as going towards the Classic here at 12-1. Mage at 14-1. Proxy at 14-1. Derma, if he shows up, at 20-1. But listen, that's really the field. I guess Senior Bruce. I don't think Senior Bruce is going to run in there. Zandon 20-1. A few. I'm trying to think if any. I guess defunded at 25-1. Practical Move 25-1. Clapton, I think, is going to run in that race.
He's going to run in it.
Is 50-1. I don't think Ronald rolls off for the year. But there's the field. So, or at least the horses that are available to bet. I don't know, man. I mean, Arcangelo at 3.5-1 is tough. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think he should be the favorite, but I don't know that I'm going to be playing him at that price.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I can play him at 7-2, which is basically what that is.
Yeah.
If we get to post time and the odds are like this, I think Arabian Night makes a ton of sense at 6-1. I think White Barrio, honestly, if White Barrio 7-1, it's almost worth it.
Yeah.
Because the one thing you can say about White Barrio, if he runs like he did in the Whitney, he's a no doubt winner. And you can't point to another race that one of these horses have run and say that about them, right? Like you could say, hey, if Arcangelo runs like he did in the Travers, he's got a good chance. And that's a true statement. But he's not an absolute lock to win, even if he runs like he did in the Travers. White Barrio runs like he did in the Whitney, he'll win the race. And he's 7-8-1. So
I know. I mean, and I'll be honest, like I totally have not decided what I'm going to do with White Barrio yet, but I think I would sleep better at night knowing that I picked him and lost than I left him off everything and he beat me.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, then you go back and you'd be like, really? Like I was there. I literally saw with my own eyes what he did in the Whitney. I get it. Trust me. You don't have to tell me. I get it. Like it's White Barrio. Like you don't want to like that horse, or like that he could think that he could win. But if he were to you said it, right? If he runs that race, he's winning.
Here's what he reminds me of. See if you agree with this. Remember when we were at the Florida Derby and Maximum Security just dusted that field? And we were like, what? That'll never happen again. Such a BS situation. And then he came back and he didn't end up getting paid if you bet Maximum Security, but he kind of dusted the Kentucky Derby field.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of what it feels like with White Barrio. You look at it and you go, that's just not going to happen again. Like that was just, you speculate on why it happened, blah, blah, blah. But then you get to the big ones, like he won't do that again. And then what if he does? That's kind of the thing that worries me with him, because he does have that race where it's like, oh boy, you can't beat him if he runs that type of race. He's got a really nice running style for Santa Anita. So, I mean, again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to bet White Barrio on Breeders' Cup Day, but he does possess a race that none of these other ones have run yet.
Okay. So for one, I'll talk about Saudi Crown, I guess, because, I was hoping they'd really run him in the dirt mile, but he's not. He's going to run in this race. I mean, 12-1, I guess, is fair on him. If you can get 12-1, I don't necessarily hate it, but I'm gonna let him beat me. I don't know that I'll have anything of him in this race. I like the horse. I mean, maybe underneath, I don't know though. I just kind of feel like he creates a little bit of a situation because he's got a lot of speed in this race, and he's going to make it interesting for the Go Rocket Rides and the Arabian Nights and, horses that do show a little bit of speed early on. I just, Wide Barrio even, so, I mean, it's like, I don't know. He creates an issue because he's fast. He's legit fast.
I agree. I have no rebuttal. I agree with everything you said. Yeah.
I just, how would you be more surprised if he won or Wide Barrio?
Him, I think, but it's close. Like, yeah. I guess it's hard. I guess I'm kind of being wishy-washy because really nothing's going to surprise me in this race. Like, I'm sitting here, I've sat here, I did like a classic video and I said, yeah, I mean, Zandon can win. And that's like a running joke between us and Jesse up at Saratoga. We always give him shit because he picks Zandon. But here we are at this classic and it's like, well, he might win. Like, that's not terrible.
Yeah, he could, right? I mean, So Ushpicicero, that's been my pick on here for the last couple of weeks. And the word's out on him, and it's kind of annoying, honestly, as someone that was hoping you'd get like 10, 15 to 1. That's a pipe dream. You're not going to get that on him now. I mean, I think he's going to be like 4 or 5 to 1 at this point.
He's
the it horse that, he obviously won the Dubai World Cup. So you have that, but it's like, he's that kind of new shooter that everybody's excited about. And by the way, he's a Japanese horse.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it months ago. Well, probably been a month ago, and you were on him, and I think he was like 20 or 30 to 1. And I kind of, and you agreed, alluded to the fact that, yeah, once they actually see this horse, hear about this horse, get the past performance in their hands, and look at the horse, he's going to be below 10 to 1. And here he sits at 8 to 1. And look, we'll see, right? I mean, he may get down lower than that even because look, I mean, people know about the Japan situation and these big time events, and people are going to gravitate to how good he looks on film. I mean, his on film's an old word there, but on YouTube, basically, where you look at his races and you go, he looks like he's pretty darn good. I mean, there's in most years I would say, oh, don't do that. But this year it's like, yeah, I get it. And I think Ushpicicero has won on the international stage before, and I think that'll go a long ways. And he didn't beat a ton of good horses there in Dubai, but it was emphatically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And honestly, I got Magic texting me because he knows I like the horse and how he's liking the horse, and I'm like, shit, man, everyone's likes this horse now, and I just all kidding aside, like from a real betting standpoint, I love what I've seen. If you go back and watch the Dubai World Cup, he was, I mean, it was a trip, man. Like he had to get going, like he was well out of it. Then you go back and watch this prep race for the Japan race. He was a lot closer and a lot more kind of tactical, and then made a move and then just kind of went by them all late. He just feels like a horse that can win at kind of any particular style. And I've been saying it, that Japan's going to win one of these, and it's going to be soon. And it's hard for me to sit here and be like, okay, we have a group of horses that over here that aren't awesome. We don't have Flightline. We don't have, Pharaoh, or, the list goes on. And then we also have the Dubai World Cup winner who is a Japan horse, and he's running in this race. It just feels like it's shaping up a little bit for that to happen.
I agree. And I think it's more of just a situation where we just don't have the horses that people are going to be extremely excited to bet. I mean, even on Arcangelo, people that follow racing, they've seen it. They know. They've seen a 3-year-old that is good enough to win this race, and they've seen Arcangelo this year, and it's like he's really good, but it doesn't just scream that, hey, I want to bet him in the Classic. It screams that, hey, he deserves it. He's done really well. I think he's a favorite we can beat.
Now listen, Rodney, I know you're just giving a shit, but it's you're going to get a price. I mean, it's not like you're not going to get 10 to 1 on Ushpa, but I think you're going to get a playable price because you do have the Travers winner. I mean, these 3-year-olds are sexy to a lot of people. You got Arabian Night, who obviously Bob Baffert. Guess what? We've seen a bunch of 3-year-olds win this race before, and they were all trained by Bob Baffert. If he can do it, he can do it with Arabian Night. He did it with Bayern. Go Rocket Ride. I mean, obviously, he has a lot of people like him. I think he's a fun horse to bet. Wide Barrio, we know how that, So it's like you got Saudi Crown for Brad Cox. You got Bright Future for Todd Pletcher. Mage, you got the Derby winner. I mean, I don't imagine he's going to take a ton of money, but he will take some. So the point is, you're going to get, I mean, there's too many options in this race for Ushba to be for you to lose complete value in him, I think.
Yep. I agree with that. I don't think he's, some people are saying like 5-1. I don't know. I don't think it'll be that low, but I think you're not going to get 10-1.
I can't play him at 5-1. Let's put it that way. I mean,
he could be a victim of there just wasn't a strong enough horse to bet, and so people had to gravitate to him. And then all of a sudden, and whether he wins or loses, that has no impact as like what odds he are. But you may get to where you're there, and it's like, damn it, I can't bet him at 5-1.
Now, Kevin, I do want to suggest a theory. Now, I don't know. I have not proven this theory, so maybe we can test it in the coming weeks. With when you and I and Magic also likes a horse. Maybe Magic cancels out our negative, issue whenever we both like the same horse. Maybe with Magic adding to that, maybe we can still get that horse home. I don't know. Just a thought. Yep. We can test. I don't know if we got a horse we can test, or maybe earlier in the card as well. Yep. But no, I really do. I don't. I see Mage being ignored. He should be ignored. I mean, he's been really bad lately. His Travers, by the way, was one of the worst all-time performances from a Derby winner after the Derby. I mean, it was so bad. And this is coming from somebody who saw Mind That Bird run the Breeders' Cup for D. Wayne.
You talk about a horse that ran a race of his life, and all of his other races have pretty much been the same. It's Mage. And that day at the Kentucky Derby, that was a completely different horse than any other start he's ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. He was out of this world. He ran incredible. And he had to pass a horse late that really wasn't stopping in 2 fills, and he did it anyway. I don't know how he did it. I don't know where it came from. He'll never do it again. And I think we're 1 race away from never seeing him again.
And you and I have talked about that. And we may have talked about it on the show too. I know we've talked about it a ton together. And it's just like, I feel like what happened was with Mage is that he did run this race of a lifetime for him. And it's happened sometimes, right, with the Rich Strikes, and like horses that kind of defy logic and win a race like that. Then the expectation comes, they're going to do that every time. But in reality, they're just not that great of a horse. They just had this huge race, and now we expect them to win the Travers. We expect them to win this and that, the Classic and all these things. Like, well, in reality, he's like the poor man's version of Zandon. He just happened to win the freaking Kentucky Derby. Yep. And I know that's probably not fair to say because he did win the Derby, and I do credit that. But I just think the expectations get higher with a horse like that, and then they don't have the talent to back it up. It just happened that one time.
I think the thing that makes me the most upset looking back at that Derby was when he lost the Florida Derby, right? And by the way, I thought he ran fantastic in the Florida Derby, okay? But when you're clear and you're nearing the wire and a horse comes and gets you like that, I mean, you look at it and go, okay, he is who I absolutely know he is. Hard trying, really good horse. Love to have him. Respect the hell out of him. He can't win a race like the Derby. He just can't. And he goes and he does it. And then his races after are the same. Preakness. He got beat by 2 of the worst runners to run 1-2 in the Preakness ever. Haskell. He ran really, really well. He just couldn't beat a good horse, right? Yeah. I mean, Travers, he didn't try, whatever. But that's the frustrating thing about the game. He is exactly who I thought he was going into the Derby. He just ran just a monster race that day.
And the best part about it is like if you liked Mage, Somich picked Mage, and all the credit goes. I mean, he picked the winner. But if you liked Mage, it wasn't because you thought, okay, he's going to be outbroken by Tappet tries. He's going to be towards the back of the pack. He's going to have to circle the field. He's going to have to weave in and out. You know what I mean? Like you're betting him, you're picking him to win the Derby because you think he's going to break well. He's going to get in good position. I think he's got more tactical speed than he should. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like you're picking him for that reason. You're not picking him to go from last to first and pass 19 other horses in the Kentucky Derby. So that's the other wild part to it. It's not like, it's just that part is just baffling. And then you go watch him in the Preakness, and you're like, oh man, really? That's the same horse. So yeah, I don't know. I'll let him beat me in the. Well, I've let him beat me in any race since then. So it's it's awesome that he won. It was a great story, and it was an incredible run. Like he ran his ass off. I don't know how he did it.
Honestly, and I may be overrating it a bit, but I thought it was one of the better derbies I had seen. Since I had followed the sport, the effort. I thought it was like, God, like that was I don't know how he just did that. He was a monster in that race, Yeah. And then, whatever.
Especially considering how good Two Fields ran, and you're just like, oh man. Like
I know. And again, he just ran a monster and he just hasn't been able to he couldn't really do it before and he couldn't really do it after. So it's just one of those things, and that's impossible to know when that's going to happen.
All right. We didn't really do it in the opening, but now that we have the odds up here, I'll put gun to your head. Who you picking? These are the odds you can lock in. Who you got?
White Abario.
2 is right. Ushba Tesoro at 8-1. So 8-1 and 7-1 are our picks currently for the Breeders' Cup Longines Classic. Of course, pre-entries come out next week. Entries to follow the week after. More analyzing, more handicapping coming your way. But there's a look at the Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday futures odds.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track. It's Breeders' Cup season, and we've got wall-to-wall coverage of the World Championships. Subscribe to YouTube.com/RacingDudes right now. Click the notification bell. You never want to miss a single video. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.